Today is the 13th of February and I'm in Ravensden. I just come over to check the fondant blocks to see how they were getting on. It's not particularly warm today, it's about 10ish degrees, which is just about on the edge of when the bees want to fly. So if we just have a wander around, this is number 3. And there's some bees coming and going there, so that's quite good. And number 4. Yep. And you see that one that's walking around, has got some pollen on her legs. Now she's just going back in again. Yep. That's quite a good sign. I don't know what the pollen is from. Next one is what, number 5. This is always a biggish one. And again, oops, there we are, that's better. That looks okay. As I say, it's not very cold. These might just be sort of cleansing flights. And there are a few corpses on some of the other landing boards where they've taken the opportunity to start clearing things out. And I have my first bee sitting on me. Let's say hello to her, shall we? Here she is. What are you up to, darling? Right, you go back with your sisters. Okay. That one is empty. This is the WBC, and they're a bit perverse here because they quite like going into the back. There. The Varroa board thing here has jammed and is broken, so I expect that's why they're using that. Moving on. The beast, she's okay, considering that's better. Yep. So that looks okay. This one over here, there's one just gone in there with some pollen on her legs. These are corpses. Oops, they're corpses. They're just having a clear out now. And finally, no, the penultimate hive but one. This is potentially a very strong hive, lots of bees coming and going. And the last one. Yep. A few dead ones there, which I'll clear out at some point. So, all in all, that seems to be quite promising. I'm going to go down to Scald End tomorrow and Stevington as well, and we'll see what things are like down there. It hasn't all been good news, I'm afraid. Although the other bees seem to have survived okay, there's still the spring to get through. But unfortunately the colony that is in the top bar hive didn't survive. A couple of times during the winter I came over and the roof, which is actually quite heavy, had been blown off. Now whether that meant they got chilled, I don't know. Either way, they didn't make it, unfortunately, so there's a heap of dead bees when I went to see how they were getting on a few weeks ago. It was a swarm. Swarms are more susceptible to starvation and things like that than established colonies, and there may be a feeding issue that I need to have to think about for next winter. What I aim to do for this year is, as I'm on the swarm collectors list again, is to get a swarm and start all over again. A couple of things I have done. When the bees are in here, they kept getting in through here rather than here where the entrances are, so I've gone through and tightened that up. And also I've got some brackets so that I can lift, I can lift the roof more easily, and also fix it down a bit more securely than it was. So that's very disappointing. This corner of the apiary is going to become the faintly useless corner, as over here this is, or was, where a colony was last year. Didn't survive, so there was an empty hive here. So this is where the Warre hive is going to go, and because it's a big lump I've got to carry it over in sections because I can't get the Jeep anywhere near this place. And the start of it is just the Varroa floor, which I think I've already done a blog about. Okay, to Scald End tomorrow. Okay, we are at Scald End. It's Thursday today. It's a little bit warmer than yesterday. I have come down here really to just check the fondant that's been put in for them. But I think, as I said in the previous blog, it's the time of year when the bees should hopefully be coming out. So we'll have a walk up and just see how each of the hives is doing. And number one looks fine, sunning themselves. You can probably hear that buzzing in the background, and this is number two. Look at that. Number two are notorious headbangers and the most self-confident, shall we say, of all of the hives, and they seem to be extremely busy. They're struggling a little bit to get in because the wrap has slipped a bit, and I will pull that up slightly when I check the fondant. But yeah, pretty busy. Number three, they've got the same problem, so I'm getting out the sun, and I'll pull that. In fact, I might even start thinking about taking these wraps off. But so that seems to be okay. This one's a bit quieter, although saying that, can you see her? She's just dropped a load of pollen. Let's move that up a bit so I can get in and out a bit more easily. And let's have a look, see what's going on. Yeah, okay, there's a few more coming out now. Right, that seems alright. This one, oh blimey, pretty busy again. Yeah, very busy. And the next one, coming in and out quite happily. Yep. Up to number 7. The wrap has fallen off it. I won't bother putting it back on again. And they're okay. Good number of bees there. No pollen that I can see. They're probably just sunning themselves a little bit. They seem to be rather agitated here. I don't know what's going on there. Unless they're trying to get something out. Let's just watch them for a second, see what they're up to. No. Just having a chat maybe. Okay. And finally, number 8, predictably, this is another headbanger, and yep, so look around there. Okay, so lots of activity in all of the hives here. I'm going to go back and check all of the fondant blocks that are in there and replace them if I need to, and then it'll be on to Stevington. And we are at Stevington, and I've taken the wraps off these two, and this is the what is number 4, and well, I think we can say that's a fairly active hive. Let's sit and watch it for a sec. Yeah, that's good. The other one, and it's got number 9 on it, but it isn't. Not so busy, but perfectly fine. A lot of them going in and out the top actually there. Hadn't put the crown board on properly. And they seem to be doing just fine. I've got a couple of jobs to do with these hives up here, so I'm just going to stop the camera for a second and get some bits and pieces ready. Just something quick about the bees up at Stevington. I sort of took these over at the end of last year, towards the end of last year, so I haven't opened them up. I have no idea what's going on inside, although I suspect everything is fine, because they used to be looked after by somebody who was a very experienced beekeeper. But in the period of time between Chris having to stop beekeeping, sadly, and me taking them over, one of the colonies that was up here died off, caused by something called wax moth, and there is a link to the blog I did about it, which is particularly unpleasant, in the description below. Now there is space up here for more colonies. The paving stones are down there as a base for the colonies to go on, and so what I'm going to do this year is to extend this up to 4. Now the slight problem I've got is that these beehives here are what are called 14 by 12s, which are a different size to all of the other beehives, the colonies that I've got, beehives rather. So I've had to mess around a little bit, and I've set up 2 empty hives here for the coming year. They've got the right sized frames in them, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to what's called split these 2. It's a method of swarm control, but it does have the end product of giving yourself another colony. And what I'm going to use is this rather odd looking thing down there, excuse the shadow in the way of it, what's called a Snelgrove board, and basically you put it on top of one of the colonies, put another box on top of it with this Snelgrove board between it, and 2 separate colonies develop, and then one of them, top one, you will move, and I'm going to move it to there and to there. So that's the plan for next year, and we'll see how that turns out. Just another final thing, we've been to all of the apiaries now and had a look at the bees, and on the face of it things seem to have gone quite well. The one colony that has definitely not survived the winter was the top bar hive up at Ravensden, and if that's the case, I have to say then statistically I've done a bit better than average. Last year in Bedfordshire something like 40% of the colonies didn't make the winter, so on the basis of that I should lose 4 or 5. So far I've only lost 1. I say so far because the spring is actually quite a dangerous time for the bees. Outside the entrance here there are crocuses and all sorts of things coming up, but the bees are becoming very active now, and there is a risk that they will have very little left over from their winter stores, and as the colony expands very rapidly there may not be enough food, and it's not uncommon for colonies to survive the winter but die in the spring, which happened to me with one last year. So the fondant feeding will continue for a little while, but now it's getting warmer they can start taking some liquid syrup, which is what I've got over there in that pot thing at the back, and that again is just to help them over that short period of time when they are at risk and they may need some extra feed just to keep them going. And also, incidentally, we are at Stevington Manor, and although you can't see very well from here, it is a lovely place, and if I was a bee I'd want to live up here. And the gardens, which are the other side of the hedge there, are lovely. So I'd strongly recommend you come along and have a look, and maybe we could arrange you to come and have a look at the bees as well. And I will put a link to the manor in the description below this video. Thank you.